I can't physically be in a million places at the same time. I can't move at the speed of light. Too much friction, right? Shock waves. I burn myself up. I can't do it. And so the real world has things of beauty and functionality because there is conservation of energy and because there are consequences, either political or economic.
Back in August 2020, MicroStrategy led by CEO Michael Saylor began with the bold defensive move to invest significant treasury assets into Bitcoin in response to inflationary pressures. Since then, MicroStrategy has strategically enhanced their holdings to become the largest ever corporate owner of Bitcoin and recently debuted an additional $414 million purchase. As a developer of enterprise software, Saylor has long espoused digital transformation. Bitcoin is part of that very process, digitizing the last major building blocks of the analog society: property, energy, and money. Don't forget to watch to the very end for Saylor's latest insight on the matter. The problem of conservation of energy.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that we face as a civilization is conservation of energy. That's the inflation and the degradation problem. A secondary issue is how do you move energy through space, the transactional problem. That's kind of tactical, but the strategic issue is what's the half-life of your energy, right? If I put the money into a building, and the building has a useful life of 100 years, so the half-life of the energy is 50 years. In 100 years, the building's gone. So what if I wanted the half-life of the energy to be 1,000 years or 10,000 years? How do I make something last forever? That fundamentally, the real issue with the human race is how do I make something last forever? How do I achieve immortal life?
Bitcoin as a digital energy.
The way I think about Bitcoin is, in its purest form, I think of it as digital energy. And if you look at the conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy in the form of missiles, electricity, if you roll the clock back 120 years and you went to everybody that operated a town or a hotel or a building or a ship and you said this electricity is really going to have a profound impact on your life, people would have thought, how do I think about this, right? Is electricity a good thing or a bad thing? It probably took people 30 years, 40 years before they had absorbed what electricity meant. And you're like, well, I don't want it because it'll be regulated. Well, is regulation of electricity a bad thing or a good thing? It's a thing, right? I mean, you probably can't roll out electricity throughout a city without some regulation.
A paradigm shift.
And now we just came up with this thing that has a theoretical life of forever. It's like that's a singularity, right? It's like It's like the world before oil and after oil. You ever try to row a boat across the Atlantic, okay, and then compare that to a ship with a sail? That was a pretty big step change, right? From mechanical power to sail power. Now, that ship with the sail was 6 to 12 week journey, and then replace that with a ship with a diesel engine, right? And you tell me whether you like that or not, but of course, you probably would like liquid energy or chemical energy in liquid form.
One way to understand this is to ascertain that the world, in fact, wants digital property whilst also desiring dollars, especially in countries with failing or weak currencies. What you really want in this situation is to construct a system that makes you wealthy, keeps you wealthy, and keeps all the gears of commerce spinning. The best system, according to Saylor, is for everyone holding a digital currency and digital property. The long-term strategy would be to keep financing the digital property to the currency. Satoshi solves double spend problem.
Because Satoshi solved the double spend problem. And the double spend problem is a very lowbrow colloquial phrase that equates to the highbrow conservation of energy, right? The solution of the double spend problem is the solution of implementing conservation of energy in cyberspace.
Double spending is when a person spends the same currency for 2 or more transactions. Prior to the invention of Bitcoin, this was a major problem because it eliminates the feature of scarcity for digital currencies, which is an essential feature for a currency to be viable. If each unit of a currency can be spent an infinite amount of times, then each unit would have no real value. Following the 2008 financial crisis, a financial pioneer named Satoshi Nakamoto solved the double spending problem and created a viable digital currency that was immune to double spending. To this day, no one knows the true identity of Satoshi except Satoshi himself or herself. Satoshi Nakamoto is merely a pseudonym. Regardless of the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor going by that pseudonym created a unique solution to prevent double spending. The solution is called blockchain technology. The details of both Bitcoin and blockchain technology were laid out in a white paper released by Satoshi Nakamoto in November of 2008 called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Conservation of energy in cyberspace.
At the point that you implemented conservation of energy in cyberspace, you converted the file from holding digital information, which is non-conservative, to holding digital energy, which is conservative.
What Saylor is basically trying to communicate all in all is that you can hold digital energy as Bitcoin on the network forever with no power loss. No real cost to move it, no cost to hold it, no constraints on the storing of it. The half-life of Bitcoin is forever, meaning that Bitcoin is actually the answer we've all been searching for. Cleaning up cyberspace.
There is conservation of energy in the real space, in Newtonian space. I can't physically be in a million places at the same time. And so the real world has things of beauty and functionality because there is conservation of energy and because there are consequences, either political or economic consequences. Cyberspace is without truth. It's without consequences. There is no conservation of energy absent Bitcoin. And that's why all these products, right, are crippled and impaired. And the solution to cleaning up cyberspace is to introduce conservation of energy. And to do that, you need digital money.
It's interesting to note here that Michael Saylor has previously also stated that Bitcoin is the answer to the hordes of rampaging attacks in cyberspace. He cited Bitcoin's energy usage as an integral part of the solution, claiming that this could be the most important use case scenario for Bitcoin beyond usage in fundraising or a speculative tool for companies to put on their balance sheets. He said that, as digital energy, Bitcoin is the best tool against scammers and hackers because there is currently conservation of energy in the cyberspace. He uses the analogy of physically going to a hotel to break items and getting charged for the repairs, as compared to using a Python script to gain access to any hotel on Earth and not get charged any money. Saylor claims that the latter is the status quo and takes the form of denial of service attacks, which does not cost the attacker up to $1 to attack. Hyperinflation.
All of the published numbers are manipulated to be the lowest figure you could possibly create. If I talk to people that I know, they would say, well, real costs for producers are going up 15% or 20%. So the PPI is 10, but the real number is 20. The CPI, they say, is 8, but the real number for many consumer things are 12 to 16. If your goal is, we know that the Case-Shiller index is showing about 18%. So middle class home is up 18% year over year. So the actual inflation rates on either assets or desirable goods are running probably double.
So basically, what Saylor the engineer thinks people really need is digital energy. I think the entire 21st century economy needs digital energy, which means $500 trillion worth of digital energy moving at the speed of light, friction-free from 8 billion devices across 100 million companies. No power loss, superconducting network. With that, we come to the end of this video. Consider subscribing to join in next time for more of such interesting content.